came home alone, which is what you wanted to do.
Right.
The game, first quarter, first half, give me your assessment.
Well, the first half, well, really first quarter, looked like Alabama was sort of dominating the game. I talked to several people before the game, and it was very interesting. I asked one of them the question, what are y'all going to do if you win the toss? And I said, if you put your offense out there, defense first, it's going to tell me a lot about what your position is in the football game and what you feel strongly about. And I was glad to see them put their defense out there first. And I knew Alabama would put their defense out there first because they would want to put their strongest strength on their football team. So I don't know that defense was the strongest suit of Clemson yesterday or last night, but they chose to put the defense out there first so that they got the ball the first 5 minutes, second half, which is always important. Didn't do anything with it, but they got it. And by putting the defense out there against Alabama's offense, and neither team did anything the first drive, but it was a kind of a telling point to me that Clemson had confidence, and they had a lot of confidence. A lot of their people thought they were going to win the football game anyway. But first quarter, and they had them shook up. I believe. I think they shook up Clemson's offense pretty good. And Alabama stayed on the field too long defensively. They couldn't do two of the biggest plays I thought in the football game were the offensive tackle for Alabama jumping off sides when they had great field position. Only because Alabama's offense could not overcome long yardage. I believe only one time in the game, and it was on a 3rd and 16, that they made 15 yards and they had to go for it on 4th down on their last touchdown drive. So I believe that's the only time that they made a long yardage situation all night. So if Clemson got them in that situation, they were in good shape. So I think that was 2 big plays. If Alabama would have gotten points, and when they had field position, it could have been a different ball game.
You said Saban was going to be a genius, or he wasn't going to be, or he's going to be criticized for the fact that he changes. How did that, in your opinion, shape out?
Well, Clemson kept the pressure on them. And when the guy's over there calling a ball game and it gets tighter and tighter in time, just like an hourglass, it just keeps falling out and it goes down and down and down. And you only got so much time. You may be pushing it a little bit or questioning it. But their offense, to his credit, their offense, even though in a span there in the 3rd quarter, a long time they didn't do anything on 3 and out a lot, maybe 5 times. But other than that, they put it in the defense's hands to stop. Clemson was stopping Alabama, and then all Alabama had to do was stop Clemson, and they did, except 2 times. 21 points in the 4th quarter against Alabama is pretty unbelievable. I mean, it's they hadn't given up that many touchdowns all year in a quarter, and especially the 4th quarter. And the 4th quarter is supposed to belong to Alabama, and last night it didn't. And it's just like their offense with Watson. He was a very gifted player. I mean, maybe once in a lifetime player. He was that good last night. He was that good all year. He was that good ever since he's been here. It won't be as easy to replace him as they get all the 5 stars they want to. But this guy knew the offense well. He put his team in a lot of positions. And possibly Clemson got away with 2 illegal picks, but who knows? Who cares? If it had been Alabama, they'd been bragging about it. So Clemson can brag about it now. The announcers did a nice job of keeping everybody pretty well informed. Alabama was on the football field an awful long time defensively, and as you watch the ball game the later the ball game went, the less pressure they got on the quarterback with a 4-man rush. And even when they'd bring the linebackers, if you watch the long pass, I think, to the tight end, Alabama brought a blitz from outside linebacker, folded underneath, coming in the middle. And he looked like he should have got there. He didn't get there. Just looked like he was going as fast as and tried as hard as he could, but he just couldn't get to the quarterback. But he got through clean. And if it had been the first quarter, he might could have made that play because he might have had more energy. Who knows? But you know, sometimes it's meant to be, and it was Clemson's night last night.
No question about it.
No question about it. I mean, they were confident they were going to win the football game. I talked to several of them before the game, and they believed. I know one of them told me that you know, it's just like the Florida State game back when we heard that punt Ruski all year, and then went down there next year and kicked them pretty good. They had heard about the onside kick, the long pass to the tight end, and they'd heard it all year, and they were going to do something about it yesterday, and they were confident that they were going to win, and they did, and credit to them. It was a big win for the university, for the state of South Carolina, for the Auburn people. I noticed with the Auburn people rode Toomer's Corner, and the South Carolina people that were pulling against Clemson, they had a bad night. So it was, you know, when you got a state of Alabama pulling for Clemson part of it, and state of South Carolina pulling for Alabama part of it, it makes it a nice evening.
What is this going to do to Coach Dabo Swinney? Now there are only two of you that ever won a championship at Clemson. You're both still alive. You're good.
God, I hope so. We're alive. Well, I mean, they're hard to come by. I mean, even though the people, I was trying to think last night. I mean, in 1969, when I played college football, that was 100 years of college football in 1969. And Clemson had not won a national championship in over 100 years in '69. So you put that on 40 more years. That's nearly 150 years. I don't know how long Clemson's been playing football, but that's a long time without winning one. And that was '81. Now it's 34 years later, and they cut it by in maybe a quarter of a fourth of a time. When will the next one be? I didn't ever anticipate seeing one in my lifetime, really, because I thought it was too hard to come by. And with the change of the way they set the thing up now with the playoff, it becomes a little bit easier to qualify, not to win because you got to play more games, but to qualify. And I hope people don't misunderstand what I'm saying. If you win the Atlantic Coast Conference, you're probably going to qualify for the playoffs, and then you got to just win 2 games. It's a 2-game series. So anyway, but. That quarterback won't be easy to replace. It don't matter how many 5 stars you see, and you talk about 5 stars all you want to, and great recruits, but you got to have somebody that understands the offense. You take a little kid last night from either Socrates or Charleston that caught 10 passes as a walk on, probably the most valuable player in the game. You know, it should have been, or could have been, or at least shared it. So. He had no stars, and he was the star last night.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How did Nick Saban wake up this morning? What was going through his mind?
I think when he goes in there and watches the film, if he didn't watch it after the game, and he could have possibly have not slept. I didn't sleep I didn't go to bed till 3 o'clock, so I couldn't sleep, and I didn't have anything invested in it other than watching it. So I'm sure that he didn't get much sleep last night. He could have probably had somebody to set the film up and have it broke down for him. And I think when he goes and sees the number of mistakes we made, the 2 offside penalties, the personal foul penalty, when he sees that, he's going to see that they lost some discipline there, and they were just as good or not any worse than Clemson, and Clemson was just as good, not any worse than Alabama. But when they see that, I think he's going to see, well, they threw it away, and then people's going to say, well, if you hadn't let the other guy go, that could have. But I don't think that bothers him at all. He's got enough credibility in what he's achieved at Alabama that he kind of probably about like Coach Biden. He'd tell them all go to the devil, you know, and get away with it. But there'll be a lot of people that will criticize that move.
But you don't think it made any difference?
Who knows? It could have, and it couldn't have had. But Alabama played well enough to win the football game if they don't make the mistakes. They had 2 interceptions, I think, or 2 turnovers, a fumble, and I don't believe he threw an interception. But they had 2 turnovers, So that's 2 more times they get the ball, and they jump off sides twice. If they just take care of that, then they have the personal foul. If they just don't make those mistakes, they're good enough to win a football game. And if they can contain the quarterback there at the end, and they can't do that. So Clemson played well enough to win the football game, and deservedly the win. But I've got a feeling he's probably throwing things at the wall this morning when he sees that, because that doesn't supposed to happen to his teams, and it did. So maybe the crowd helped that. Who knows? I understand Clemson had the biggest crowd there. I don't know. But I understand they outnumbered Alabama fans, so that was a home field advantage. Clemson travels awful well anyway. Alabama travels well, so it would probably be why he jumped off sides, or why that boy got in a fuss with the other player and got caught, and how they got. I believe the rule of illegal picks will be a big topic in the NCAA Football Rules Committee this year. One of them very questionable, and one of them is directly he's blocking while the ball's in the air. It probably should have been a foul. Wasn't called. No way you can have contact blocking, and he was the kid was on his ground blocking. That would have been a bad penalty right there, because it put a lot of pressure on the kicker. Clemson would have probably tied the game, but it backed it up 15 yards. But that's if. That didn't happen, and they didn't call it, and they didn't say it. But I would assume that with Saban's pull and the defensive coaches throughout the country, that they'll go back and make sure that rule's changed. They changed that rule several years ago. That they put a lot of emphasis on calling that. Okay. I don't think the emphasis there. And they said before the ball game, I think it was a Big 12 group of officials. They kind of let them play in their league. They kind of let them battle a little bit. In pass interference calls, and fighting for the ball, and hands-on receivers and defensive backs. And they made 2 great catches. Clemson did. Number 7 really went up and got it, and he took some hits. Clemson took some hits. They came up off the mat pretty good. They got some hits that they normally that would have got their attention. They might not want to go back in the ball game.
How do you feel this morning? When we talked before, you got lines to both sides.
Oh yeah, well I feel like in a way I'm kind of glad Alabama didn't win, because I'm a Coach Bryant man, and he would have tied Coach Bryant. But that's going to happen. If he stays at Alabama for the next 4 or 5 years, he's going to probably have an opportunity to win another. And when you stop and see how happy the Clemson people last night, I mean, you got people in Salem and Walhalla and down in Charleston and Walterboro. I was just thinking today, Myrtle Beach, and how many happy people are in the state of South Carolina. I even read there was somebody in Taiwan rooting for Clemson. So and it makes Clemson's name very strong, and not only in football but for the whole school in the state. So I feel good about that. I really do. I feel very proud for the people that the football team and the football program represents, and that's Clemson. So I'm very happy for them to have won the football game. You always have mixed emotions. I don't know if it's like you married two women or not. I don't know how that would feel, but you have a connection with both. I had an opportunity where we couldn't lose, but the team that won I'm probably more grateful for them doing that than the other team that lost.
Does it bother you that you're now not the only coach to ever win a national championship at Clemson?
Well, not really. It doesn't. We're the only undefeated and the first, and that's sort of like your first child.
The last thing, you got some news yesterday. You're going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Back before Christmas, got a letter, and I think I knew that my name had came up because, and I think that was because of Clemson pushing that. I mean, even Terry Dunn, the one that started back earlier, and I'd been up to it several times and had not been voted in, and didn't think I would be voted in this time. I thought that'd probably be only one coach, and that in Spurrier would probably have the recognition over me on that, and ended up being 3 coaches put in. There was another guy from a smaller school, which I don't know, but I'm anxious to meet him and see his resume, because I know it's got to be a great one. So anyway, they sent a letter back in a ball, a nice painted ball that back before Christmas. I left it unopened for about a week because I thought it was somebody wanting an autograph, and mailing it. So I wanted to mail it back before Christmas, and I opened it, and they said not to say anything about it. So I didn't even. My wife asked what it was. I didn't even tell her at first, and then I later told her, and I never did tell the children, and they got kind of mad at me when they read about it and didn't know it. And I told them, well, yeah, I knew about it 2 weeks ago, but. So it was nice to do, and it's again. I've tried to tell everybody it's not what I accomplished, it's what we accomplished as all the coaches that coached for us, all the players that played for us, all the managers and trainers that contributed, all the people who pulled for Clemson, all the fans, and that's who it belongs to. My name just happens to be on it, and then that's it.